feel like there's always too much to do and never enough time? You can never find what you're looking for? Is your brain always cluttered with thoughts, things to do and remember, suddenly wondering where your birth certificate is? If so, you may want to consider simplifying your life. Hello everyone, my name is Kyla and this is Rhubarb, and thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. Here we talk all about minimalism, slow living, style, and appreciating the little things in life. If that sounds like it interests you, then please be sure to hit subscribe. Today I am going to be sharing 12 ways that you can easily simplify your life so that you can begin to live more intentionally and focus on the things that truly matter to you. Let's get started. Tip number 1 is to figure out your priorities. This is honestly one of the hallmarks of intentional living. You're probably going to hear me say it a lot on this channel, but when we figure out what's most important to us, we can focus our time on doing that and forget about the things that don't. A great way to start doing this is to consider what activities fill up your day. Do you find that a lot of your free time is spent dusting or caring for items that don't really mean that much to you? What would it look like if instead you were to declutter, to rid yourself of those items? How would you fill your time instead? Or another thing to consider is, what would a perfect day in your life look like? Imagine that you had the entire day off to do whatever you choose. What would you be doing? How would you be spending your money? Asking ourselves these kind of questions help us to figure out what our true values really are. Tip number 2 is not to rebuy. We all have too much stuff, and often we begin to accumulate more before we've even run out of the last thing. Next time you go to make a purchase or even begin to run low on a product, consider what your life would look like if you were to not buy that thing. Do you have something you could use instead? Can you make do without it? Or do you already have a spare waiting in your cupboard that you forgot about? Tip number 3 is to optimize your home to work for you. The home is a place of rest and sanctuary, so we should build it based on our own needs and lifestyle, rather than maybe how things were when we first moved in or how we were taught where things should go. 2 ways that I optimize my home for a simpler life are to store all of my plates, bowls, and cups in the cupboard directly above the dishwasher so that it's easier to unload, and I also keep all of my shoes in my closet. This makes it easier to match with my outfits rather than keeping them by the front door. Tip number 4 is to create a color palette for your wardrobe. Do you often stare into the depths of your closet, wondering why you have so many clothes yet still nothing to wear? While I do believe that we all have too much clothing, myself included, the source of your problems could actually be due to the color of your clothing. Creating a color palette for your wardrobe means that each day when we get dressed, we're faced with a closet full of coordinating items that can be mixed and matched and that we know will suit our skin tone and complexion. And creating a color palette for your wardrobe doesn't mean it needs to be all black, white, and gray. While those are good basics, there are plenty of colors you can include in a small wardrobe that are versatile while still allowing you to be creative. You may even want to consider a capsule wardrobe where you create a collection of a few items that are versatile, fit your lifestyle and activities, and are suitable for your climate, and only keep those on display for the specific season you curated them for. This helps to reduce decision making and ensure that you always leave the house looking put together. Tip number 5 is to create a system for your paper clutter. While digitizing is a great option, there are still some things that we need to have hard paper copies of. My system is to deal with mail as soon as it comes into the house, either recycling or sorting what I need to, and then I have 2 locations where I store the rest of my paper documents. I have a pull-out drawer with folders where I keep things such as pay stubs, receipts, or warranties and manuals. And then I have a zippered binder where I store all of our most important documents such as passports, house insurance, or a marriage certificate. The reason why I keep these things in a zippered binder is because we live in an area that's very prone to wildfires and flooding. So I wanted to make sure that we would be able to grab our most important documents in the case that we needed to evacuate. By keeping these things in a zippered binder, they're easy to organize and sort through. I don't have to worry about any falling out as we're leaving the house, and the handle makes it very easy to carry and grab. Tip number 6 is to set up your to-do list the night before. I don't know about you, but at the end of the day, I feel like I have so many thoughts buzzing around in my head that the only way I can describe it is my brain feels cluttered. Whether it's something that you need to buy next time you're at the grocery store, an idea you want to bring up at work, or a reminder to yourself about a friend's upcoming birthday, make sure you get it all down the night before. Decluttering your brain allows you to remove any excess thoughts that are in your head so you can spend the rest of the evening relaxing without worrying that there's something that you're going to forget or that you'll be behind tomorrow. You can do this either on the Notes app on your phone or on a piece of paper, whatever works best for you. Just make sure you get it all down. On that note, tip number 7 is to remove something from your to-do list. Most of us already have way too much going on in our lives, and we continue to pile more and more on our plates, knowing that there's no way that we'll be able to accomplish everything. Instead of having a daunting list of items staring down at you, go back to your priorities and consider what needs to be done now, what can wait, and what maybe never needs to be done at all. Remove one thing from your list, whether it's a task that you don't think is required or you're simply acknowledging that it's not going to get done today. Tip number 8 is to unsubscribe from emails. How many of you have signed up for an email list to get 10% off your first purchase from a brand and then proceeded to never actually unsubscribe from that list, even though they send you dozens of promotional emails weekly? Set aside a half hour and unsubscribe from these accounts. Not only will it leave you with a simplified inbox, it will reduce the desire to shop for things we don't need and take one less thing out of your brain as you consider whether or not you really need something from their upcoming sale. Oh, and while you're at it, make sure you empty out your email's trash bin as well. Tip number 9 is to put away your duplicates. Contrary to most minimalist beliefs, I don't think that donating all of our duplicates actually is always a good thing. We've all heard the stories about how many of the things that we donate don't actually end up in the hands of those that need it or in donation centers, and instead are on their way to a landfill. Getting rid of a perfectly good item just because we already have another doesn't seem totally sustainable in my book. Of course, if you have a friend or a family member, someone you know that could use this, then it makes perfect sense to give it away, but that is a topic for a whole other video. If you have the space to do so, consider creating a box where you can store these duplicate items. This will simplify your life by helping to reduce visual clutter while still keeping that item somewhere for when you inevitably break yours and may need to use it. I like to call this shopping the box before you go out to purchase new things. And you can do this for any number of items, whether it is a piece of clothing that you like but are a little tired of, or a simple kitchen gadget that you have two of, like potato peelers or spatulas. Tip number 10 is to learn a few meals that you can easily make without looking at a recipe and to always keep those ingredients on hand. I think that what's for dinner might be one of the most common questions around the world, so ensure that you always have an answer, even when you don't necessarily feel like cooking, by having a few simple recipes that you can always turn to. For myself, I always keep ingredients on hand to make a simple quiche, a shrimp and citrus salad, and a pasta which I can throw any leftover vegetables or sauces that I have into. Tip number 11 is to break up with perfectionism. Now, I know this is one that all you perfectionists probably do not want to hear. As a bit of a perfectionist myself, I get it. We like our neat, orderly homes filled with everything that we love, our itineraries and our to-do lists. But giving up perfectionism doesn't mean that we need to give up all control, let the house become messy, and settle for things that we don't love. It means that we begin to recognize when good is good enough and that we practice gratitude. Instead of always looking ahead to what is next or trying to find the most perfect thing, take time to appreciate what you do have, all that your items are capable of, and all your life offers to you, even in the parts that don't feel perfect. Whatever it is you struggle to achieve perfectionism in, take some time to consider what your life would look like if you swapped out the need to be perfect with the acceptance that good is good enough. How much simpler would your life then become? My last tip is to leave yourself time to do nothing. You can even schedule this into your day if you're a big planner and that works for you, but simplifying our time commitments is a small change that ends up making a big difference. Leaving yourself time to do nothing also means giving yourself permission to slow down. Take a deep breath. Notice the sun shining on the hills, how you're feeling that day, the taste of your food, or the joy you get from a long-forgotten hobby. I'm a huge supporter of slow living because I believe that it has a number of positive effects both on our mental health and how we view our lives, which in turn can increase our happiness. Slow living also connects really well to simple living, as when we go more slowly, we only really have time for the things that matter most to us. By taking intentional steps to simplify your life, you can reduce the clutter, busyness, excess, and distractions, and instead focus on your priorities, your values, and what matters the most to you. What's one thing that you're going to do to simplify your life in 2022? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving it a like. It really helps my channel. As always, Rhubarb and I thank you for watching, and we will see you again soon.